As soon as Matt was announced as the Bachelor, I went on his Instagram and I was like, okay, let me find out who this is. Girl, I was scrolling up through that Instagram, hardly saw any melanin on there. I felt like he was giving me he don't date black girl vibes.
I may be young, but I'm ready to give you all my love.
Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Michelle Amaray, and if you're new here, welcome. So today's video I'm actually really excited about because it's about The Bachelor. So The Bachelor season, I don't really know what number it is, but Matt's season just ended, and I think it was a crazy season. Personally, I don't watch The Bachelor unless they got like a black bachelor or bachelorette. That's just me. But I definitely tuned into Matt's season because it was the first black male bachelor, and it was just really interesting to me just off that basis. So anyway, literally from the beginning, from having Victoria on this season, like it's been crazy with all of the girl drama. It's been crazy. But I think even crazier than that are like the different issues that have happened within the relationships Matt had with some of the girls. And so in this video, I'll be talking about some of the different red flags that I saw throughout the season and some teachable moments that I think can really help us all in regards to navigating the dating landscape and just being more aware of certain things to really keep an eye out for. Now, the first one, which is probably like one of the biggest ones and was definitely highlighted towards the end of the season, was Matt's commitment issues. And actually, he just recently tweeted about how I think and I hope he's looking for a therapist around him. But it was just so evident and so clear that he had so much childhood trauma and different issues with his father that needed to be hashed out even before navigating the dating space. And I feel like issues like that are just so important to like really take care of, not even just for the sake of dating, but for your own stability, your own mental health. And so I didn't really like how the producers just kind of had a rushed little episode of him and his father talking about certain things. It kind of made it seem like this was like one of the first times that they've really ventured into this area. And I feel like that conversation needed its space and needed its privacy that really didn't need to be aired. And I felt like it was done in such a rush manner that it was just not beneficial for either party, as I perceived as the viewer. So I think it's really important, especially if you have issues with abandonment as a child, or you know, the hardships and difficulties that might come from being raised in a single parent household, to really get a lot of that stuff worked through and talk with the therapist through it, so that you don't come into the dating space with all that baggage and therefore hurting other people potentially. And so I found it to be an issue that Matt kept saying that he was so scared of commitment because of what played out with his parents. And I'll just go ahead and be vulnerable. I think a lot of people can testify to not necessarily growing up in a household where you saw a great display of love between your mother and father. And so that can definitely affect how you perceive relationships. But I think as an adult, you have to come to an understanding where what happens to you isn't your fault and you can't control that, but your healing is your responsibility and you have full control over that. And so I personally went to therapy for this reason, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this already on my channel multiple times, but that was important work for me to get done so that I wasn't going into the dating space with that unnecessary baggage that was going to negatively affect my potential relationships and my ability to fully commit. Because the truth of the matter, regardless of what kind of relationship you're in or how long you've known that person, you're taking a risk at the end of the day. Like, I don't think that anybody really goes to the altar on their wedding day and it's like 100% without a doubt, I know this is gonna last a lifetime. Now you're committing to put in the work to make this thing last a lifetime, but at the end of the day, we're human and the other person you're marrying is human, and we're all susceptible to our flesh. We're all susceptible to so many different things. And so yes, that desire might be there, but I think it's important to understand that although that fear might be present and it might be a result of issues that you've had from your childhood, your desire to be committed and your desire to still go ahead and plunge in and take this decision cautiously is really important. And if you're not at a point where you've worked through your past traumas, it's going to be very difficult for you to really commit. And I think that's an issue that Matt definitely needed to have straightened out before he got on the show to begin with. And what's crazy is that there are lots of Matts out there who are wandering this world, dating different women, and honestly, keeping them on a leash for years and years on end because they're too afraid to commit. And if you're a woman on that leash, let go. Let that bondage go. That is your person. That is your partner's responsibility to work through and heal. It's not yours. Now, I think the next thing that was pretty evident in this season is just this idea that believe a man's actions more so than you kind of believe his words. I do feel like Michelle felt blindsided in this whole scenario. I feel like, you know, she kind of felt like they were on the same page, but I think to an extent it was also her projecting the way she felt about him and just kind of assuming it was reciprocated to the same degree. Because when you would see the different portions where the producers would interview the girls, you know, privately away from all the other cast members and stuff, Rachel was so assured of Matt's love for her for the most part. It made me kind of think that behind closed doors when the cameras weren't there, was he telling her like, you're the one, I love you? Because she was walking with such assuredness. And I think that's so important for us to understand as women. When a man wants you, there's not gonna be doubt in your mind. You are going to know 100%, you are going to feel safe, you are going to feel protected in his love. There's no room for questioning and wondering, I don't really know how he feels. I don't know if he really loves me like that. Da, 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 da. You will know. And I think it's crazy that that point was even magnified in this situation where he's dating multiple women. But you still had that one woman who just walked with so much assurance that he really did love her. And I think there were also other indicators that showed us as the audience how much he really cared about her. When producers would also interview Matt and ask him about how he was feeling about Rachel, there was always a different tone that he had when he was talking about her. You could tell he was super attracted to her, super in love with her, that the connection he had with her was so different from the rest of the other women. Like he would say, yeah, Michelle's a great girl. You know, I had a list of everything I wanted a wife. She checks the boxes. But with Rachel, it was taken to a different level. And here's the thing, like, chemistry is something that cannot be manufactured. You can be the best woman ever, but if you're just not that man's cup of tea, you're just not it. Like, you can be the juiciest, plumpest peach out there, but if a person doesn't like peaches, I mean, you're out of luck. And I feel like that was definitely the case. Rachel was just his type. She just did it for him, and it was just so evident in the season. Now, I don't know how things work behind the scenes in The Bachelor, but look at the kind of dates Rachel went on. Like, she had fireworks going on. He took her shopping and she had designer and stuff. Like, look at the kind of effort, the kind of money that was spent on her dates, the kind of time they spent together. You know, and I feel like to an extent, probably Matt has a certain say in what they get to do. And so when he's out here going above and beyond for this woman, that kind of really lets you know, how he's feeling and, you know, how he really perceives her. They even went skydiving, you know? So I think it's really important to also take note. A man's actions really reflect how he feels about you and really are indicative of his true feelings towards you. Now, my next point is in regards to physical attraction. Even just as the viewer, I could definitely tell how much, you know, Matt would talk about Rachel's beauty and how attractive he was to her and how beautiful he perceived her to be. You can definitely tell the attraction was there. And I think it's important for us as women also, like, if that man doesn't view you and view you as like a whole dime piece, I mean, men are very visual. So that physical attraction, I feel, is so important and so pivotal for there to be a very healthy relationship between y'all. And so without that foundation of that physical attraction where he just is really super, super head over heels, like he sees you, he can't see nothing else, that's the level of attraction and physical attraction your man needs to have towards you. And I definitely perceive that he had that with Rachel more so than he had with Michelle or the other girls. Now, my next step is in regards to the importance of just not doing too much, especially as you're dating. I am a traditional woman. I believe men should definitely court you. They should definitely pursue you to an extent. Like, obviously, it shouldn't just be out of desperation and you don't care for them because that makes them look, you know, not as attractive anymore. But he should be putting in a sizable amount of effort, especially in the initial phases. And I think it's also important for for us as women to very cautiously understand how to balance the kind of energy we're reciprocating. You don't want to give him 100 and he's giving you 60, because that looks unattractive. At the end of the day, men to an extent love the chase. They do. They value things that they put in that effort, that they put in that energy towards acquiring. And so I felt really embarrassed for Michelle when she went all out to do the whole jerseys thing for him with his last name as Mrs. for her and Mr. James. Like, for me, it just, as soon as that scene started, I just felt so icky and so weird, because I'm like, this man hasn't even committed to you, hasn't gone down on a knee for you, and you're literally sitting here insinuating that you would marry him, or that you would agree to be his wife, or that you foresee yourself being his wife. Let that man take things to that extent first, which is why I don't believe in harassing men for commitment. I don't believe in harassing men for an engagement. Let him put towards that energy, because that is so important. Like, I feel like you as a woman should have enough pride and understand your value to know that if you're with a man, he should recognize that value that you possess and act accordingly. And if he's not doing so and he's not giving you the energy you know you deserve, that's just not the one for you, and that's okay. And so I felt that was really cringy, because where was the equivalent that Rachel did for him in that sense? Like, where was she, giving him this thoughtful gift, insinuating that she would be his missus, or just outward displays and actions that suggested that same idea? She wasn't. Instead, it felt like in their relationship, Matt was going all out for her, doing the most, really putting his heart and his effort and his money towards her. And sis was just there enjoying it. I mean, I'm sure she was definitely saying things and letting him know the kind of commitment she had towards him, but he was really the one pulling out all the tricks in his sleeve to really impress her. And so I think that's really important, especially as a feminine woman, to allow that man to put in the effort towards you. You're not the pursuer. Men are naturally wired to be the ones to go and pursue. The Bible says, he who finds a wife. So we're not the ones out here searching and putting in that kind of energy. It's him. But definitely reciprocate, but make sure you're not over reciprocating in a way that comes off as desperate, or else you might end up like Michelle. Now, my last point might be a bit controversial, but hear me out. So personally, I would definitely say that as soon as Matt was announced as the Bachelor, I went on his Instagram and I was like, okay, let me find out who this is. Girl, I was scrolling up through that Instagram, hardly saw any melanin on there. I felt like he was giving me he don't date black girl vibes. So I wasn't really coming into this season expecting him to end up with a black woman and us celebrating black love. And here's the thing, I personally believe that love is love, and I love it when people are happy and respected and cherished by their partner, regardless of how their partner looks. So I am not here to bash interracial dating, date who you love. But I do think it's important, and I'm speaking for a black woman's perspective, to know about your partner's dating history. I personally, with everybody that I've dated, I want to know who your exes are. I want to know what they look like. I want to know the kind of person, the kind of girl they are, because that tells me a lot. Because I do think that people tend to date within their type, and you tend to see some kind of commonality between the people they've dated. And I know that's definitely true for me. And so I don't want to be anybody's experiment girl, because especially when you're dating for the intentions of marriage and something long term, I want to know you're relatively dating within what you're naturally and truly attracted to, and this isn't something to just toy around and figure out. And so Matt was kind of giving me the vibes that he doesn't date black women like that, okay? And so for me, it was kind of like, especially understanding he has a white mother and was raised by his white mother, grew up in a predominantly white town, as he said, it would just make sense that the relationship with a black woman might be very uncomfortable for him. Maybe he would have felt more comfortable with a white woman just because that's what he's used to and that's what he's accustomed to dating. And so for me as a black woman, that typically probably would never be my type. Like, if I were to date a black man and he's only ever dated non-black women, I don't think I would be so inclined to want to date him and go there, because I'm black, and I love my blackness. I embrace my blackness. It's so so important to who I am and my identity and how I navigate this world that I don't think I could really be with somebody who wasn't on that same page in certain regards. Not to be prejudgmental and say that just because you don't date black women, you're not for the cause or whatever, but it would just give me pause, and I think that's a legitimate concern. So when it comes to Michelle, I personally, like, yes, she's biracial just like him, but I don't know how many black women that he's dated too. So I think that would just be kind of like a little red flag or something that would kind of tell me, let's be a bit more careful treading through these terrains. But that's my own opinion on it. Y'all definitely be free to let me know how you feel about that. But yeah, these are all my thoughts on the Bachelor season and some red flags and things that I noticed. Definitely feel free to comment down below and let me know any other red flags that you might have discovered, or do you agree or disagree with any of the red flags that I noted. But please go ahead and leave that all down below. Give this video a like, share, and thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.
You a bad girl and your friends bad too. Oh, you got the swag, saucy drippin' swag, do. You a bad girl and your friends bad too. Oh.